Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Speedify Live Office Hours. I'm Alex. This is Mike.
Okay.
We are here to answer your questions. This is your show where you get to hit us up, ask whatever you've got to ask about Speedify, and we answer it. So, if you got a question, you post it as a comment wherever you're watching this. YouTube, Twitch. There are other places, but most of you, I think, are watching it YouTube or Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
So you just post it in the comments. We'll see it. We'll post it. We'll answer it. It'll be magnificent. While you're at it, like, follow, subscribe, whatever the buttons where you're watching say, so you get notified next time we go live. All right. Make sure you stay on our YouTube channel. We're going to have a new video right after this, talking about eSIMs, the rise of eSIMs and the end of physical SIM cards, apparently. Good, bad. The video will be on our YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, just hang around after. If you're not, we'll be posting the link, but you can go to YouTube, search for Speedify. It'll be the new video. It'll be awesome. So hey to everybody showing up. I'm not gonna click on all your messages and say hi. Hi, we see you. We see you. Good morning, Vinny. So what is Speedify?
Right. Speedify not only is the greatest piece of software, but it's an app, and it's available on all of your devices: iOS, Mac, Windows, Linux, Android, you name it. But Speedify, it does something great. It lets you combine any number of internet connections for better performance. We're also a VPN. So, when you're on public Wi-Fi and you want to be protected, Speedify is here for you. So, the channel bonding technology VPN app.
All right. First question. Hi, Mike and Alex. Greetings from the Netherlands. Wonder if there'll be another discounted 1-year offer soon for Speedify. I don't know of anything planned, but we do sales. I mean, I think there's probably a pretty. If you go to speedify.com, we usually have pretty decent coupons sitting there on the homepage. What the current is right now, I don't know. I would go to our website and check it out. No giant, sale planned right now, but they happen. Do it randomly. All right. Luiz says, do you think applying features in the Speedify bonding service specifically to meet the needs of SRT UDP-based video requests? Yeah, we're working on things. We are constantly messing around. I gotta be honest, I have a live view and a Magewell Director Mini on my desk right now.
That's exciting.
And I've got them, hooked up to Speedify. And I will note that the Magewell Director Mini, which now has an option, you can actually use Speedify right on it, but cool stuff from Magewell. Yeah, I do notice that, in fact, the Magewell device works perfectly over Speedify. And the live view stutters in a funny way, which competing products don't. So I'm investigating SRT. We're looking into SRT has some funny things. We're digging into this, and there's constant little improvements and adding hosts and ports and tracking things down. All right. Vinny, I have a question. I do rodeos in rural areas. Cool. I have Wi-Fi at some places, but when I don't, I can't seem to get my other phones to connect to bond. Say unavailable. So what you can do, I think Vinny's using pair and share. There. So this is Speedify running on my Mac. Second in background. This is the actual Mac we're streaming on right now. It's got Ethernet, it's got Wi-Fi, and on the Wi-Fi, there are 2 other cell phones running Speedify. And they're sharing, so I get 4 internet connections. Vinny's problem is he doesn't have Wi-Fi, and so he doesn't seem to be able to get the other phones to connect. You can make one of the phones make a Wi-Fi hotspot, then have the other phones and perhaps the laptop, whatever you're streaming from, join that hotspot. And now you'll be able to discover them. You can use that local Wi-Fi off the phone. That's what I did when we went to the Phillies game. There's a fun video floating around our YouTube channel where a bunch of us went to the Phillies game. Oh, there we go.
Wow.
Right. So the phone on the right there is my iPhone. Right here. And then the two other people I was with joined my hotspot. We all ran Speedify. They found each other, and look how many internet connections we have. So we were then able to actually live stream the baseball game. Super cool, right? And the stadium, the Wi-Fi is not fast enough to stream. No, the cellulars are fast enough to stream. But we were streaming because we had 3 different cell phones. All right. Wave makers. Hi, I'm using a paid subscription for a while now. What is the max speed of Speedify servers? At what internet speed does it stop adding speed? And is it more about reliability? All right. There's no hard, gigabit kind of thing speeds. For our regular servers, though, we're shooting to make sure that people can try to get 200 megabits when they need it. If things are slow, maybe I've fired up and gotten 800 megabits before. But 200 megabits is what we really want to make sure that paid customers can see. We have premium servers that are only available for the paid customers. And keeping off all those free users means there's more bandwidth for you. If you really are trying to get to those high speeds, we have the dedicated server option where we'll set aside a server that can do at least a gigabit, depending on the areas. Sometimes we can get servers that can do quite a bit more than that. Dedicated to just you. And just you could mean, you have a Teams account. You can, pay for a few other people, let them use your server if you want. But we'll set aside at least a gigabit of hardware for just you if you pay for that dedicated server product. The secondary connections, at what internet speed does it stop adding speed? A couple things here. The secondary connections don't get bonded in to the primary connections if the primary connections are doing more than 30 megabits. The feeling is secondary connections are connections that you by default cellular secondary. If the connection is marked as secondary, it means you didn't want to use it that much. You said it was okay to use it for speed boost, but don't use it all the time. So our feeling was if you were getting more than 30 megabits, you have more than enough to, in fact, stream 4K video. We stopped using cellular to add on things at that point. Big topic, this question.
Yeah.
Connections bond better when they're similar. I mean, we do all sorts of smart work, and I think more than anyone else in the industry, to bond connections that are dissimilar, different latencies, different loss. I think we are the best in the business. But it doesn't change the fact that it is easier to bond connections that have the same latency, that have no loss, that are similar speeds. In fact, I have a cool chart somewhere that shows that if you put together actually identical connections with Speedify, you often get 100%. In fact, because of margin of error, sometimes when you measure it, you get 102% of the speed of those connections added up. But if one connection is 5 times the speed of the other, even if they're the same latency, you can end up getting 90% of the speed of them added up. So I hate to give it depends, but it depends. Yeah. All right. I have Speedify on and hotspots on. I'm sure it's just a setting. Streaming on an iPad, and I have 2 iPhones. Amazing Peter Gaming. Nice. Thank you. I did not know there was a new 1-year and 3-year offer on. The old one was gone for a few months. Good. Yeah. Check out the website. We often have better deals on our website than other places you can buy it. They come and go though. All right. Loving Speedify is a game changer. Wave makers, thanks. Keep up the great work. Hey, we try, man. Oh, your man. Whatever you. Everyone is welcome here. All right. So, like I said, we've got a new video coming. All about Sims versus eSims. We get into a big argument about it. It's great fun. Check it out. Actually, I haven't seen the video. I was just in the argument that they filmed. Who knows how it got edited?
Oh, I can't wait to watch this one.
There is a new release of Speedify 14.7.1, fixing a few very specific issues that people reported. One person managed to put together a setup where Speedify was slow. We figured that out and fixed it. Unlikely any of you are getting the same one. Probably good chance there's one person watching who might be hitting the same thing. But if you want, it's fixed. Some of the stuff in the live activities on iOS made some nice little improvements. It's a minor release. The best Speedify ever. You should update.
Absolutely.
New segment. Instead, do you have any questions? Have you guys read this stuff about the San Francisco train system that's running on floppy disks to this day? I don't know. Somebody can post a link to the article. There's a link to the article. Check this out. The San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency's train system is not only relying on humans to run it, but it turns out that a floppy disk plays a key role. So they put the system in 1998, and it is still running off floppies. They said a strange comment here that they say, that it was cutting edge technology at the time. But 1998 floppies. That doesn't sound right.
Not even a little
It's
bit.
getting hard to remember, but I guess we were on zip drives by then, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, I have a floppy drive, and I took a picture of it this morning when we were talking about it. There we go.
Look at that.
So this is my Commodore CBM Model 2040 from 1980. It still works. It's an enormous machine that is a twin floppy drive. When people see it, they're like, so what else does it do, right? Because it's 35-pound floppy drive. I'm like, no, it's just a floppy drive. They're like, what else is in this box? Like, no, it is 35 pounds of how many megabytes can it read? So we're gonna have to Google that.
Being killed.
Yeah, it would be kilobytes. I mean, it was like, I think floppy. Man, it's getting hard to remember. I think near the end in the 90s, there were finally floppy drives that could hold a megabyte, right? Isn't that right?
Like this.
There we go. Yeah. 5 1/4, 300 RPM.
25 kilobits a second.
25 kilobytes per second. How much could it hold? All right. Mike's going to look this up. Commodore 2040 floppy drives from 1980. Cutting edge stuff. I didn't take a picture of it, and I regret that. I also have the cassette tape reader. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember this. The Commodore PET could use audio cassettes, the same ones that you used in your Walkman, to record data. You could load programs off the floppy cassette. You could save them, right? If you wanted to save a file, you had to press record, and then you wrote the file to the
Pretty cool.
You had to click. There were the buttons. You had to press the buttons at the right time for the software to work. It was fantastic. So my question about all this, like, if this system, 1998, hit on a floppy, then it's like less than a megabyte. Then, given our modern tools of Swift and Rust and all these tools that we claim help our Java and Python that we claim makes us so productive, Shouldn't one developer be able to redo the system in 2 days?
You would think so. You would think, and get humans out, floppy disks out.
But somehow that's not true, right? You know this is going to be a major project that costs millions, right?
Yeah. I wonder what the computer system looks like that's running it. Like, maybe that's the problem.
I guess verifying it is incredibly important.
Yeah.
You send one train down the wrong track, and it's not giggles anymore. There's no put out a 14.71.
That's true.
After you crash the train. So I mean, maybe that's where the real costs come from. All right. I like the quote. It's like every morning you forgot your job and someone has to forcibly remind you. Yeah.
But they want to go from floppy disk to AI. I think that's to me. Yeah, to me that's
I don't want trains run AI.
Neither do I.
Come on.
No, please.
Not yet. It'll put together a schedule that'll look right, but have all the trains running into each other head on. Yeah.
There's a reason Apple got out of the car business.
You music instruments still use them for legacy. Oh, floppy drives, yeah. I'm old. Synthesizers.
Yeah, I remember my 808 had a little floppy disk you load beats on. That was pretty crazy.
Give me AI trains 3 hours from New York to London. No, that's a rocket you're thinking of, Brian.
AI rockets.
Yeah, man, the Elon Musk stuff. I assume they'll remember, right? I mean, he was talking about using that Dragon rocket, right? He designed the rocket to take us to Mars. And he was saying instead of taking you to Mars, you fly it sideways, and fly from New York to Delhi in 15 minutes.
Elon's first.
Yeah, after you, buddy. All right. Hi, I'm Stefan from Ghana. Please, how can I link my Speedify to my laptop? We have Speedify. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to do. We have Speedify for your laptop. I don't know what you're running. Windows, Mac, Linux, any of them. You go to speedify.com/download. And you can install it on your laptop. And then whatever internet connections you have, it will bond. If you can tether your phone, Android iPhone, as long as it shows up as an internet connection your computer could use, it'll use it. We give you 2 gigabytes a month for free. That you have to buy it, but it said speedify.com. Got all kinds of sales going on all the time. Check that out for coupons. But depending on what your internet connections are, perhaps 2 gigabytes a month is enough for you. All right. What computer OS works best for a system for a dedicated separate solution to share internet connections to connect other computers to? In other words, a router. A good Linux device running a Debian-based Linux. Raspberry Pi 5 actually has enough horsepower to, go to gigabit. The Wi-Fi on it does not seem very good. It is the same Wi-Fi as the Wi-Fi 4 as the Raspberry Pi 4 had. We were doing performance tests here, and when we were on Ethernet and USB 3 devices, everything seemed to be going great. As soon as we added the Raspberry Pi's Wi-Fi in, things started, going really slowly. I think it is an old chip with this tiny little circuit board antenna. I think the antenna is probably more of a problem than the chip is. It's meant to not need any antenna. So, but turns out antennas are good. I'm not sure what device other people are using, but yeah, you need some kind of Debian-based thing. I mean, even just some people have been using Intel NUCs, right? These things have so much horsepower. They're fantastic. All right, Nat says, I still have my Commodore 64 since my college days with MIDI to my Juno synth, drum machine, etc. It was a state of the art. Yeah, so I have a Commodore 64. I have a Commodore PET. Just great stuff. Great stuff. All right, Jan says my 1998-1999 compact Presario with 100 megabyte iOmega zip drive. It's more cutting edge.
Yeah.
The SF train system.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Zip drives, man. They were the future in 1998.
It's a good time to be alive.
It actually was. All right. All right. You were found is here. All right. There you go. Wave makers. iCool Core R1 Pro has many Ethernet ports. Good machine. Yeah, that's recommending. You would know. All right. So next Wednesday. That's right. That's next Wednesday, 10 a.m. I don't think that's right. I think it's 2 p.m. next Wednesday. Someone will correct me. Yeah. So again, we did another minor release of Speedify 14.7.1. Oh, it is 10 a.m. Sorry. Who am I to doubt? Who am I to doubt? Never right. Why would you trust me? Yeah. So next Wednesday, we'll be doing this again at 10 a.m. It's gonna be awesome. There's a new version of Speedify on like the Mac. I know it actually shipped this morning. 14.7.1 update. It's got some nice little fixes. Good chance you're not affected by any of them, but if you are, just update. Yeah, we've been doing this You Asked video series because we noticed that a lot of you have the same questions, and some of you don't ask questions until the video's over, and then you post them in the comments on the video, but now I'm not live anymore, which is cool. If you're okay waiting a while for the answer. So we've been taking some of those and making new You Asked videos. Where I take one of those comments that were posted too late and I answer them, often doing a demo of how to do exactly what you want to do. So, if you have more comments, just post them on these videos. All right, updated, and it's working as it should. Good. Toby says, I really love your app. It's just too expensive for me here in PH with minimum wage. Hear you, man. See, watch for sales. We have real sales, but we have real hosting costs. I'm sorry to say that it is not cheap to handle hundreds of megabytes of hundreds of thousands of people's traffic. Yeah. So I would love to give it away and figure out how to make it up in volume, but we have actual cost of goods here. Stay on our channel. New video coming about Sims and eSIMs. What else? Yeah. Here we are, 10:30. Anything to add, Mike? What's new with you, man?
No, we're just chugging through on the next release of Speedify. We have some exciting, really cool stuff, I think, coming out. Yeah. On the lookout for, WWDC coming out in June. So, just looking over some of the.
Do you have your branch installed? Do you want a demo?
I don't know here, but we do have some cool colors.
Let's make him demonstrate this. All right, so this is what Mike is working on right now. So how do I do this? So I click on it.
Right.
No,
it's not installed, but you will be able to. It's not here. But you can see a new color.
You can change he's got more colors, and you can choose colors. So he made a connection red. I think we'll never default the connection to red because that'll make you guys think it's broken.
But it will persist.
So it persists. Yes. So every connection will always have the same color. Pick a color, and that'll be the color. Some of you notice that you reboot your phone, and now the pink Wi-Fi is blue or whatever. Sorry,
So what we should do?
Took less than 10 years to close the ticket, so I feel pretty good about our agile.
So we have like a list of 15 colors, and I don't know if the new Brian with the Y do a TikTok live video where somebody can name the color. So maybe we could do something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
pretty cool. Color McColor face.
Oh, maybe I opened the wrong can of worms. He will give you a list of options.
Vote. Jeez. Gotta say credit to the British that they ran their contest to name their new ship. And when Bodie McBoatface won, they didn't name the ship that, but the ship carried a drone. And so they named the drone that, and they
That's
painted
fair.
it on the side.
All right. You sort of won.
Yes, little things are often most difficult. Naming things. That is one of the hardest things in the whole world. Giving things good names. I think so many of us are just used to things having bad names. I'm not even sure how important it is.
Oh yeah, no. I showed our designer the list of developer names I came up with. He said, "No, not these." I said, "Okay."
4 colors. All right. Whoa, this is interesting. Nat says, only concern for me is that I stream events with the political rats and they have cellular jammers.
Ooh.
In the United States, they have cellular jammers? Are you sure the networks aren't just overworked? Because it is a felony. And they enforce it to use a cellular jammer. In fact, only the federal government can use a cellular jammer in the United States. Even the state governments can't.
So even in your own house, that would be illegal.
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
It is absolutely. One of the hotels got caught jamming Wi-Fi.
Really?
And they brought criminal charges against them and hit them with massive fines. They all had to agree that they would never do that again. Cellular jammers. Honestly, call the FCC. They will arrest people if you're in the United States and they use a cellular jammer. I am very suspicious that what you're actually seeing is that when you're streaming events at the political rallies, that so many people are streaming at these rallies that are not necessarily in places where the cell phone companies expected to have so many people. They take a park over. People designing the cellular network didn't expect 50,000 people to be live streaming from inside a park, so they didn't put enough bandwidth. I bet you guys are just stomping on each other. I could be wrong. You might not. You didn't say you're in the United States. I have no idea. Yeah. Wavemakers, do you guys have a collaboration with video switch manufacturers? I saw one with Speedify built in. Magewell, the Director Mini now has a beta Speedify built in. The Director Mini, that's in the other room, is really cool. It's go big, about 1.5 inches thick. It takes in 2 HDMIs. And then it's got a touchscreen interface where you can do real-time directing. You can choose which camera to stream. You can do side-by-side. You can do picture-in-picture. You can overlay titles, right? So you can set all this stuff up. And, you can be in the field live streaming. Click to add your title. Click to switch which camera. It has Wi-Fi. It has Ethernet out. It can record to SD cards. It has USB where you can tether phones or drive to record to. And so, you can end up tethering 2 cell phones and join a Wi-Fi and have Speedify bond across these. Wow. And actually produce your show on this thing. That's really cool. I mean, you want to do a little prep work. You set up your titles ahead of time, so there's now just a shortcut button to pop the title on, right? You don't want to try to type it while live streaming, right? But it's a nifty device. So the Magewell Director Mini, it's really cool. Remember back in the day, casinos had jammers. I think not anymore. I mean, no law about you can make your walls really thick, and you don't have to let the cell phone companies put a repeater in there. So you can be sort of a pain in the ass. But active jammers, they're serious. Didn't Philly use jammers in 2020? So the feds can use jammers. So, might Philly have had some FBI guys down to use jammers? I have no idea. But the Philly government did not turn on jammers in 2020. I guarantee you that. But I don't know. I don't know specifically. I really love the feature that we can pair with other devices to make our signal more stable and faster. Yeah, pair and share, man. So excited about this. Look at this. You know, this Mac, it's got Ethernet and Wi-Fi. But then on the Wi-Fi network, we have 2 different cell phones. Oh, actually, one. So the orange one is this iPhone connected by a cable. That's why it has the different icon. But the purple one is this phone, or is this Nighthawk?
Yeah, that's
All right. Yeah. So this phone, look, ma, no wires.
Yeah.
You know, it's showing up as a 4th internet connection on this Mac. It's fantastic, right? Love it. Can't believe it works. All right. I have a similar portable bonding system. SDI and HDMI in and stream RTMP, SRT at the same time. Still use Speedify as main delivery.
Nice.
Nat asked, does Speedify use MPTCP? No. MPTCP is a nice try. Good for failover, right? So these guys, smart people, tried to change TCP itself to be able to go over multiple connections for both bonding and failover. But one, TCP is so important, it's built into the kernel of the operating system, which means you can't add it. The company that makes your device's operating system has to add it. You know, Windows doesn't have it. You can't use it in any application if you have Windows. You know, iPhone has it. I think it's finally made it into mainstream Linux, at least as an option. But you know, there's just a lot of problems. You get a web server from some company, you know, you go to use it. No, they say that doesn't support MPTCP. So it doesn't matter. You can't use it. You can't really add it yourself because it has to go in the kernel. 2, they didn't think through costs. They have use one connection mode, so, you know, the failover, and they have use all the connections mode. This idea we have that, you know, well, cellular is more expensive, so use the Wi-Fi first, cheapest pipe first, right? Fill the Wi-Fi, and if that's not good enough, then start using the cellular. They have no concept like that. It's either blast it all out using as much cellular as you can, or don't use any cellular at all. There's no, the Wi-Fi is kind of crappy, so use a little cellular to fix it. That does not exist as a concept in MPTCP. Does it allow MPTCP? Yes. It basically does, right? And it's funny that, you know, the failover, it'll just go over. We'll let the MPTCP go through our tunnel, you know, so that it can be hard for it to be able to make decisions to do any failovers, but it does technically work through us. MPTCP is the UDP cousin versus firewall filtering. Yeah, there's also MP Quick, multipath Quick, which is I actually think more likely to be successful. Quick is this, you know, it was a Google protocol, but now they've open sourced it. And it's built on top of UDP, which, you know, a lot of people were moaning on the groups like, oh, it's going to be 1% less efficient because you built it on top of UDP instead of doing it right and building your own protocol. Well, the beauty of building it on top of UDP is that any app can use UDP. So Google can just do new multipath versions of their protocol, stick it in the Chrome browser. Now Chrome does it, and they don't need Apple to cooperate. They don't need Microsoft to help. They don't need to wait for Windows 12 to get their new protocol out. Just every version of Chrome, it just tells the operating system, I'm using UDP. And every operating system says, fine, that's, one of the classic, it's a 1980 protocol. UDP was released in 1980. Every operating system allows apps to use it. So, they just say we're using UDP and then they put multipath stuff on top. So if one of these protocols is going to succeed, besides us, I would put my dollar on MP Quick. I think MPTCP, if somebody figures out what's wrong with it and goes to fix it, they have to get every operating system to take the fix before they can even use it. I mean, you can't even debug it, right? I mean, you can modify Linux yourself. I don't want to, but you could, and test between those two. But you can't try your improvements out on an iPhone. It's a new version of iOS. That makes me feel they are doomed. This is an age of agility, of rapid improvements, and I think stuff that has to be built into the operating system is doomed. So if somebody's going to be a problem, it's going to be MP Quick, because you can just ship an app with the latest beta of MP Quick, and you don't need anyone's permission to use it. So,
too much work.
Too much work. But yeah, Google puts out libraries now for MP Quick, and you can just grab them, drop them in your app, and now your app has some multipath. So I'm not even pitching it. So its problem being built on. So the concept behind Quick, and they were really explicit about it for a long time, is it is meant to be the greatest protocol in the history of protocols for watching YouTube. Oh, they're super specific. They're not trying to replace TCP for use everywhere on the internet. The Google people were looking to build the ultimate protocol for watching YouTube. And if it was useful to other people, fantastic. And if not, oh, well, you can't please all the people all the time. So, I mean, they built a kind of marvelous thing, but there's a top speed to it. They don't give a crap whether it can go faster than 100 megabits, because YouTube really never goes faster than about 50 megabits for any one user. They want to make sure they can get that kind of 50 megabits to every one of the tens of millions of people watching YouTube right now. That's the goal for the protocol. Trying to max out your speed test results, they don't care what your speed test results are. YouTube doesn't run speed tests, so they don't care. By the way, I totally respect this. Google was solving Google's problems and saying, if any of you want to use our solution, it's cool, it's free, we're giving it away. By the rate of IP6, NAT, and others, it will take forever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So MPTCP has similar problems to IPv6, right? You can't use it until everybody uses it. They did do one thing slightly right that's slightly better, that the routers in the middle don't need to support MPTCP. Just the computers at the two end. The router in the middle says, oh, it's TCP with some extra optional fields that I don't know what it means. Well, I'll just treat it as regular. And so it gets it to the computer where it's supposed to go. So they did that right. They don't need every router on the internet to be upgraded before they can use it like IPv6 did. But they need all the computers on both ends. It means, iPhone, Android, because that's what people are using, have to be upgraded, and Linux. So they're slightly better than IPv6, but kind of in the same boat. All right, 10:43. I've probably been ranting long enough. Thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. I think this is really cool. Thanks for your questions. I'll bring my floppy drive in next time. No, I won't. It's like 35 pounds. I don't want to drag that thing around. All right. Thank you to everybody who watched. Thank you to everybody who asked questions. And I will see you all online.